All right, hi everyone. I am Laura Narbonus, and I am your host for this week's episode of Show Me How It's Done. If you were watching with me at noon, which is our regular time, thank you. I received a few text messages saying my sound wasn't working, so about 10 minutes into the video, I ended up turning it off, and I think we should be good. So if anyone happens to be on now and could let me know if we're working, that would be delightful. But hopefully we're good to go. So welcome. I am so excited to craft with you today. I do run this Show Me How It's Done episode weekly, so make sure to like and subscribe to my channel so that you can get notifications of when I go live again. So what I want to do today is I have a really fun card to show you, and you might be wondering why I have this fun headpiece on. That's because I just got back from New Orleans and I had a marvelous time the last few days crafting and kind of just hanging out with some other demonstrators from across the globe. So it was a really fun time, and thank you to those of you who were following my Instagram and Facebook and commented on all those photos. I'm glad that you enjoyed all the sneak peeks into my time away. But I'm back, and I thought it would be fun for us to craft together. I have lots of great ideas for things to do in the future, but I had to get this card in with you this week because the dies that I'm using, well, they are still available. You can get them for free still today or tomorrow with a $120 order. Okay, so here's some supplies. Let me show you what we're making. It's this little card here. And if you were at my monthly club this last month, you got to make this card here. So that's just an extra idea for you. I did use the celebration set of cards and envelopes, the pool party and soft seafoam ones here, that you can get free with a $60 order. Unfortunately, in North America, they are all sold out, but maybe if you're somewhere else, you might still be able to snag them. But what I love about Celebration with Stampin' Up! Is when things start to run out from this little mini catalog here, which you'll notice is good only until tomorrow, they start adding things from the main catalog. So there are items that you can get for free with a $60 order, such as these guys, and free with a $120 order, such as these guys. Now, one of those die sets, the Aspen tree dies, has been on my list to play with for quite a while. So I actually was planning to do this card before we decided to have them for free. Oh, perfect. We have Lisa and Denise. Hi, ladies. Thanks for watching. And sorry for the late start. But these guys here, you can get free or order later. So up to you, it's completely your choice. But I do want to just give you the caveat that I'm in Canada, so my prices will be different than yours. So make sure to just check with your demonstrator on that regard, okay? Okay, so let's get crafting. This was just an idea for you. You can take a screenshot, and that's how you can use the card base from Celebration and a little bit of embossing on the tag. Everything else is the same. So what you will need to start, you're going to need a card base. I have chosen to use soft seafoam. So my card base measures 5.5 by 8.5. And I've put a score mark down the middle here at 4 1/4. So that means we can fold this guy right in half and be ready to go. Now on the front, we're going to add some designer series paper. So because I had started my other video, I had already had that cut, and I'm going to need to recut a piece, I think, for this video here. So pardon me. This is the Splendid Day Designer Series paper. And that is what Stampin' Up! Used for their inspiration for that set that was already in the catalog. So you can choose whichever pattern you'd like for your card. I'm going to go with this nice soft seafoam piece because it's very similar to what the card base was. So that one's not going to be big enough for me. I need this guy. All right, let's just cut that one together. So I want this piece to be the same size as my card front. So I'm going to go 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And that is going to be perfect to fit on the front of my card. So that's how you can make your whole card front basically look like a sheet of designer series paper or like some of our patterned cards. This one we're attaching with a flat adhesive. Oh, thank you, Lisa. So you're going to use tape or seal, or you can even use glue. So whatever your preference is, just put your adhesives on the back of that designer paper, and we're going to stick this on the front of our card for a nice base. This is a great way to use up designer series paper too, because if you're like me, you probably hoard it, and it's good to share. You know, we don't need to keep piles of paper. We want to use it. So here's your card front. Now I'm just going to skip to the inside of the card for a sec, because that's going to be super easy to get done. Then you don't need to open your card up again. Okay, so I'd like for you to cut yourself a piece of basic white cardstock, and this is going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. It's getting attached right in the center, again with some sort of flat adhesive. So I know everyone has their preferences here. So whatever you like, put that on the inside, and you can always come back later. Perhaps you have this perched in a tree stamp, and you could add a branch, you could add a little bird, a little like blob of color, but you can do that whenever you have a chance. Okay, so there we go. Inside done. I just like to have a nice neutral color to write on. All right, now we're on the front, and here's where the fun begins. So you can actually set the base aside for a second, because what we're going to need to focus on is this piece of basic white. Now it is not the same size as our inside piece, because if you'll note, this has a very small, skinny border. I wanted a little bit bigger of a border to kind of showcase most of the color that I can see on here. So I've actually cut this one at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Okay, and that is going to be the piece that we're going to bring our lovely Aspen die sets in and cut those out. So this Perched in a Tree stamp set is available for purchase. You can grab it to coordinate with your dies, or you can get the dies on their own too. So this is the die I'm focusing on today. We're also going to be utilizing these leaves at a later point, and you'll just note the beautiful embossed kind of veins in them. That comes in one shot. You don't need to go back and forth. It's just quick and easy. So here we go. I've got my trees, and I've got my little piece of white. So I'm going to grab my cut and emboss machine, and I'll show you how easy this is to get done just in one simple pass. Okay, oh, this guy's, there we go. Move that so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, here's my machine. Now when I'm docking platforms, I'm going to grab my number 1. This is that large thick base. We're going to grab number 2, and there we go, number 2, and that's that skinny little kind of shim almost. And then we need 2 of our clear plates. So this one I know doesn't look that clear, but I swear it was. It's just been used a lot. So put that down, put your paper down, and then your die. We do want to make sure that you put your rough side down, the side that has these kind of raised edges, because that's what's pushing through the paper. This smooth side wouldn't really do anything. Okay, so make sure you've got this as centered as you possibly can, kind of in that piece of paper. And then that should leave you with 1 more clear plate to throw on top. All right, now this guy, we're just going to roll through once, and then I actually like to roll it kind of back again so that I make sure I get all those fine details out. Okay, so there you go. You can take that piece off, and what you'll see is as you start to kind of lift, some of these big pieces will fall out, and then you can just gently tug those trees out of the die. Okay, so I can just use my fingers and kind of poke most of these out. If you find yourself stuck with a little piece, then that poking tool from our Take Your Pick tool would be a great thing to have on hand. Okay, or you just keep long nails. Okay, so there we go. There's my little trees. I'm gonna move this out of my way. I guess you guys probably we'll want to just keep that handy for a second because you're going to cut yourself some leaves, okay? So one large and one small in 2 different colors. So the first set will match whatever you chose for your card base. So I used the soft seafoam. So I did a large and a small leaf. And then I used my beautiful distressed gold specialty paper. So these come 2 in a pack of 12 by 12 sheets, and I just cut it down to 6 by 12 so that I could fit it through the machine and cut out my leaves. Okay, but this guy, look, he's so shiny, so pretty. Aww. I'm so excited, you guys, that I'm seeing some of you saying that you weren't going to get the aspen trees, and now that you're seeing ideas, you're maybe going to do it, or you've done it already. So good. Now you'll have things to do with them. So you guys can go ahead and cut those and have them ready to go for the rest of our project. Now, on to assembling. You can bring your base back because we need to attach things. So I've got my nice little aspen trees. I want some shadow effect to them. I don't want to just put them flat on the card and kind of leave it at that. It looks cute, but it's not great. So I'm going to turn this over, and this is where I'm going to start putting some dimensionals on. So the easy parts, of course, would be those 4 corners, but we really do want a lot of support in this intersection too, because you're putting leaves on there. So when you have a big chunk of space, like some of these trees do, you can fit a mini dimensional perfectly on there. If you don't have mini dimensionals, the edges of your dimensional sheets can be cut apart, and you can also use those to just fit a little bit of dimension in this space. Okay, it doesn't need to be anything fancy, but do make sure you add a few pieces in there, and hopefully you'll be able to kind of have a well-supported set of trees. There we go. So all of those are off, and then we're going to put this right in the middle of our space. There we go. Okay, so there are my trees. I'm ready to start attaching some leaves. Oh, that's crooked. That's not nice. I don't like doing things above my hands. Can't see it. Okay, you can just pull them off because, of course, we didn't put them down super hard yet. There we go. Give me a second. Recentering these. There. Much better. Pretend I did that the first time. Okay, so let me show you how I added my leaves to this card. And this is just so that I was able to support all the leaves as I went along and fit them kind of nicely in a cute little cluster. So the first leaf is going to be the easiest. On this left-hand side, you've got a really nice cluster of trees with space to put a dimensional on. Okay, so put 3 nice little dimensionals. That's going to hold up our first leaf, which I'm going to use the gold one for. And I will say, you might see something similar to this card in Stampin' Up's publications, because I remember seeing a glimpse of something and then my brain just spiraled and then I came up with this. So there is something very similar to their stuff. So thank you for the inspiration, Stampin' Up. Now for this one here, you're going to either have to sit here and pile double dimensionals, or what we can do is just quick and easy add a tiny little piece of tape to the edge of our gold leaf and pile this one on top of it. Okay, that's going to make it a little easier for you to build your collection on. And that one just kind of goes up straight. Now for our little leaves, we are back to some of these trees, so I can use a dimensional to help me attach the next one. That's going to be my gold, because I'm going back and forth between gold and the soft seafoam. And then for the last one, once again, we are going to use a dimensional and pop that last leaf up. So however you attach them, just kind of make sure they're all clustered relatively together. It looks cute like this, but it kind of looks odd with all the little stems. So that's where my little stitched rectangles are going to come in. So I've cut myself a little stitched rectangle using the Crumb cake cardstock. And I'll show you my set here. So the stitched rectangles are these two sets. You'll get the nice kind of ones that fit perfectly as layers on a card. And then these ones are really good for kind of like accent layers and tags. So these elongated ones, if you will, I used the second smallest for mine, simply because it fit the sentiment so well that I found in the stamp set. But that's completely up to you. Let me just put these away. You can find your sentiment first and then adjust from there, okay? So I used "no matter the season, I'm here for you" on my sample. But when I started looking at the sentiment, I'm like, well, I don't really need that sentiment for everyone. So I grabbed my very aptly named stamp, Go To Greetings. This one really is perfect because it has 4 of my most common sentiments, but in 3 different sizes and 3 different fonts. So I can kind of pick and choose whatever I'd like, and from there, I can tailor the card to whoever it's for. So I thought, hey, I need some birthday cards, so I'm gonna grab the happy birthday sentiment down here, and I'm actually gonna do something different on my sample. Instead of embossing, like I did at the class, I'm going to use a bold ink. So you can use a black, you can use early espresso. I thought, hey, let's try Mary Merlot, because that kind of ties in with the color scheme that I'm using. And for me, that's kind of a challenge sometimes is to use my colored inks to their full potential. So stamping that, you can't see it, there you go, stamping that right in the middle of my rectangle and lift up. You've got a really nice sentiment. But like I said, if you wanted to grab white embossing powder, then you would do what I did at my monthly club and emboss your sentiment. Either way, it's totally fine. Okay? So what I need now is a piece of linen thread because I wanted this cute little bow behind. So my piece is about 6 to 8 inches long, whatever you're most comfortable with. You're gonna tie just a giant bow. A messy bow doesn't have to be pretty. So just tie a giant bow, kind of like that. And to attach it to our tag, we're going to use some tape. So I'm just grabbing a little piece of double-sided tape. You can use Scotch tape too if you don't have this, but turn over your tag, put your bow just kind of at an angle, not halfway, probably about a quarter on the card, and add a tape to the back. That gives you an easily attached bow. From there, if you have a really long piece, you can kind of trim it a bit to make it even, and then we're ready to attach this to the card. Now, I like dimension, as you all know, so instead of putting this on the same level as my leaves, which would require my dimensionals to go here, I'm actually gonna put it even higher and put my dimensionals on the leaves, just in the bottom, and then the sentiment will come further off the page. So this is not a very mailing friendly card. You probably shouldn't do this step if you're planning to mail this, but they've been pretty good to me lately, so I haven't had anything sent back. All right, so there's your sentiment. Adorable and ready to go. You can add any little jewels that you want, or kind of play around with different colors. Maybe you want to add a little leaf down here too. But all in all, very easy card. You're cutting out just a bunch of bases and a bunch of leaves and throwing it all together. So before I let you go though, I told you I had the pleasure of being in New Orleans this last week. And what I did with some other demonstrators was we traded cards. So I made 150 cards, all different, don't worry, they weren't the same thing, over the course of the last few months. And then I traded them with other demonstrators to get their ideas of projects. And as I was sorting my cards, and don't worry, I'm going to show you guys them soon, I found this card from, Donna Butler. So this is just a really great idea of something else you can do with your Aspen tree dies. So she took the Aspen tree dies and then she combined them with the dies from the Regal Reindeer stamp set. So this is a bundle in our holiday catalog. She found the adorable little caribou. She used the cute little fox. And then of course she just grabbed some evergreen branches from another set. And this little guy here, we do have the bundle in the holiday catalog too. It's one of our banners sets with sentiments that go in there as well. So another idea for you. I'm not going to do that one from scratch, but you can kind of see how easy it would be to simply cut yourself a bunch of these aspen tree layers and then add whatever details you might have on hand. Maybe you've got a snowman, maybe you've got reindeer, maybe you've got the polar bears from last year. Anything you want, you can kind of hide them in there, and it's really, really adorable. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you will like and subscribe to the channel so that you can see what's coming up next. And I'm very, very excited to chat with anyone who has any questions about how the project worked or about Stampin' Up! Products in general. Whatever your question is, just send it my way. I look forward to stamping